Hello, very good evening. Welcome to the Mega News. A 6 news coming to you live from our studios, 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate, Nungwa at Dogono. We take a look at the headlines.
President Mahama concludes Jamaica visit with Civil Heritage Park tour. In business, IMF eases fiscal pressure on Ghana's economy. And on the international front, Ukraine strikes 2 Russian oil refineries in latest deep territory attack.
My name is El Samuels. The news is also live across all our social media handles on MBN 360. We'll bring you details of those stories, business, sports, and entertainment, and more right after this break. In our first story, the President John Dramani Mahama is calling on Ghanaians to honor the dedication and sacrifices of public servants as the nation marks 1 year since the tragic military helicopter crash that claimed the lives of several senior government officials and secure personnel.
1 year after the military helicopter crash that claimed the lives of senior government officials and security personnel, President John Dramani Mahama has paid tribute to the victims, describing them as dedicated public servants who gave their lives in service to Ghana. Speaking at a commemorative event, the president said their commitment, courage, and sacrifice should never be forgotten. He urged Ghanaians to recognize the invaluable contributions of public servants who work tirelessly, often under difficult circumstances, to serve the nation. President Mahama also called for continued support for the families of those who lost their lives, while reaffirming government's commitment to improving the safety and welfare of personnel serving in critical national institutions. The anniversary was marked with moments of reflection, tributes, and prayers in honor of those who died in the line of duty as the nation remembered a tragedy that continues to resonate across the country.
Exactly 1 year ago, almost to the hour, on the morning of 6th August 2025, Ghana awoke to news that none of us would have wished to hear. In a single tragic moment, 8 precious lives were cut short in a helicopter accident while in service of our nation. Some tragedies unfold quietly within families and communities. Then some tragedies touch the conscience of an entire nation. And this was one such tragedy. The silence that followed that announcement was unlike any other. It was a silence that was filled with disbelief, grief, and countless unanswered questions. It's just like yesterday. And all of us can remember that moment and exactly what we were doing. It was the silence of parents who had lost their children, spouses who had lost lifelong partners, children who would never again hear the reassuring voices of their fathers, colleagues who had lost trusted friends and comrades, and a nation that was left struggling to comprehend such a painful loss. None of them boarded that helicopter expecting that it would be their final journey. Like countless public servants every day, they set out to perform their duties. They left behind unfinished conversations, appointments they expected to keep, families they expected to return to, and dreams they believed they still had time to fulfill. That is perhaps the greatest lesson this anniversary teaches us. That life is fragile, that service is sacred, and tomorrow can never be guaranteed.
Environmental advocate Darlin Bonsu says Ghana's fight against illegal mining has reached what he described as a point of hopelessness, warning that years of weak enforcement and political interference continue to undermine efforts to protect the country's forests and water bodies.
Environmental campaigner Daryl Bosu says Ghana's battle against illegal mining has reached a critical stage, warning that the country is losing ground in efforts to tackle the growing environmental crisis. Speaking on the state of the fight against Galamsey, Mr. Bosu said persistent political interference, weak law enforcement, and the failure to hold offenders accountable have left many Ghanaians questioning whether meaningful progress can still be achieved. He warned that illegal mining continues to destroy forests, pollute rivers, and threaten livelihoods despite repeated government interventions and military operations. Mr. Bosu is calling for stronger political will, independent enforcement, and tougher sanctions against those financing or facilitating illegal mining activities. His comments come amid renewed public concern over the environmental impact of Galamsey and increasing calls for decisive action to safeguard Ghana's natural resources.
Now moving on, the minority leader, Alexander Fenyomarkin, says the opposition supports accountability and the rule of law but rejects what he described as selective justice, warning that the country's democratic principles have been undermined.
Minority leader Alexander Fenyomarkin has accused the government of pursuing what he describes as selective justice, warning that such actions pose a threat to Ghana's democratic credentials. Addressing supporters and the media, Mr. Fenyomarkin said the New Patriotic Party is not opposed to accountability or lawful investigations into public officials. However, he argued that justice must be applied fairly and without political bias. He alleged that state institutions are being used to target political opponents, while others facing similar allegations are not subjected to the same level of scrutiny. Mr. Fenyomarkin called on the government to uphold the rule of law, protect the independence of state institutions, and ensure that justice is administered impartially. His remarks come amid heightened political tensions over ongoing investigations involving former government officials, with renewed debate over accountability, transparency, and the independence of Ghana's democratic institutions.
Where there is selective justice, rot in government is not receiving attention from state security, anti-corruption officials are not looking into allegations of corruption in government, yet political opponents are being harassed. Definitely there is selective justice. When the Chief Justice of the Republic is fired without cause, where a committee established by law to look into her case, even before completion of work, a report is written, and that report becomes the basis of her sacking. Democracy comes under attack. Where ordinary Ghanaians who are expressing their views on governance issues are arrested and jailed, democracy is considered to be under attack. We are not saying that we endorse excesses in such actions, no, but we're saying that where anybody is affected, the person can go to court, not to spend time in prison.
Away from the demonstration by the opposition NPP, the President John Dramani Mahama has wrapped up his official visit to Jamaica with a tour of the historic Real Heritage Park, highlighting the shared historical and cultural ties between Ghana and the Caribbean nation.
President John Dramani Mahama has concluded his official visit to Jamaica with a tour of Seville Heritage Park, one of the country's most significant historical and cultural landmarks. The visit formed part of efforts to strengthen the long-standing relationship between Ghana and Jamaica, rooted in a shared African heritage and historical connections dating back to the transatlantic slave trade. During the tour, President Mahama explored sites that reflect Jamaica's indigenous, African, and colonial history, while reaffirming Ghana's commitment to deepening cultural, diplomatic, and economic cooperation with the Caribbean nation. The president's visit also included high-level bilateral engagements aimed at expanding collaboration in trade, tourism, education, and cultural exchange. The tour of Seville Heritage Park brought the official visit to a close, underscoring the enduring bonds between Ghana and Jamaica and a shared vision for closer partnership in the years ahead.
This is more like saying Jah Rastafari. But let's move away from the Jamaica visit was brought to a closure by the president. The widow of the late Samuel Abuaji has appealed to government and all stakeholders to intensify the fight against illegal mining, saying the best way to honor the 8 officials who died in last year's helicopter crash is to complete the mission they dedicated to their lives to.
The widow of the late Samuel Abuaji has made an emotional appeal for renewed action against illegal mining, urging authorities to finish their work in honor of the 8 officials who died in the August 6 helicopter crash. Speaking during activities marking the first anniversary of the tragedy, she said her husband's commitment to protecting Ghana's environment and serving the nation should not end with his death. She called on government, state institutions, and citizens to remain united in the fight against Galamsey, insisting that meaningful action would be the greatest tribute to those who lost their lives in service to the country. The appeal comes amid growing concern over the continued destruction of forest and water bodies by illegal mining, despite ongoing enforcement efforts. The anniversary has been marked by memorial services, tributes, and renewed calls for decisive measures to protect Ghana's natural resources and preserve the legacy of the departed 8.
I'm representing the wife of Samuel Kweku Edu Abuaji. 1 year ago this morning, Samuel left for Obuasi. Obuasi was never just an assignment to him. It was his home, his people, the name he carried everywhere he went. He was going to fight for the land. He did not come back. Before he left, he said to me, "Take care, babe. I love you." I have tuned those words every day since. I no longer hear them as a goodbye. I hear them as an instruction. Samuel was 34, the last born of his father's house, a boy who grew into a man who never hid his faith, who worked hard, who laughed loudly, who could fill a room simply by walking into it. As deputy director for NADMO, his work was to reach people of the worst day of their lives. He did it well. But before any title, he was my husband, a father to our 2 girls. I will not stand here and pretend the year has been easy. Grief does not get smaller. You simply grow around it. There's a chair in our house that nobody sits in. Birthdays came anyway. Christmas came anyway. And our girls still ask me questions I do not have good answers for. But we have not carried it alone. To His Excellency, the President and the government of Ghana, to the Ghana Armed Forces, to the party, to NADMO, to the people of Obuasi and Adanse, and to every Ghanaian who prayed for us and refused to forget, thank you. You held us up when we could not stand. And to the 7 other families here, we did not choose one another, but we belong to one another now. Let me say one last thing. Samuel died on his way to a fight that is yet not finished. The rivers he was going to defend are still being poisoned. The land is still bleeding. The truest tribute we can pay this 8 is not a speech. It is to finish their work. Please, do not let this be the last year we remember them. And Yola, as I call you, I want you to know that God has held me. On the days I could not even pray, He carried me throughout the pain. Our girls are well. They have your laugh, and I am keeping my promise. I am taking care. Rest peacefully in the bosom of the Lord. Until we meet again, you will always be my forever. Thank you.
On that sad score, meanwhile, the New Patriotic Party, the NPP, is calling for greater accountability in the fight against illegal mining, saying the sacrifices of the 8 officials who died last year helicopter crash must be honored through decisive action against Galamsey.
The New Patriotic Party has renewed calls for decisive action against illegal mining as Ghana marks 1 year since the military helicopter crash that claimed the lives of 8 senior government officials and security personnel. The party says the anniversary should serve not only as a moment of remembrance, but also as an opportunity to assess progress in the fight against Galamsey, a cause many of the victims were actively pursuing. NPP officials questioned whether sufficient action has been taken to curb illegal mining, calling on the government to provide clear answers on measures implemented to protect the country's forests and water bodies. The party argued that the most fitting tribute to those who lost their lives is to continue their mission with renewed commitment, stronger enforcement, and greater accountability. The comments come as the nation reflects on the legacy of the departed 8, with growing public calls for sustained efforts to tackle illegal mining and safeguard Ghana's natural environment.
And from that piece of story with a commemoration celebration of the fallen 8, we're going for a commercial break. When we return, we'll bring you business, sports, and entertainment. The details of the business is with Nadede Gogo.
Let me introduce you to Farm Global Company Limited. At Farm Global, we offer you a variety of groceries and provisions to choose from. Cosmetics, perfumes, bed sheets, undies, boxes, you can mention all. This is our perfume stand, and we have variety of perfumes you can choose from for yourself and your loved ones. We cover Latapa, fragrance world, and quality perfumes that will last long on your body. On our cosmetic section, we have variety of lotions, creams, hair pomades that can keep you going. Let your feet do the talking and your hand do the showcasing. Your babies are not left out. We got you covered. At Farm Global, we make shopping a beautiful experience for you and your family. You can be at home, send your list and get it delivered for free. Yes, for free. We know you can pay for it, but we want to show appreciation. We bring everything to you at your doorstep. Locate Farm Global on the Nungwabuade Road, just opposite Redeemer Chemist. Call us on 0592 0999 52 or 050 384 3633. Farm Global, fast, reliable, and convenient.
Welcome back from that break. This is the business news with me, Nadidi Gugu. In business, the International Monetary Fund says Ghana's fiscal outlook has improved, with economic reforms and financial support helping to ease pressure on the country's public finances and strengthen macroeconomic stability. The International Monetary Fund says Ghana's economy is showing signs of recovery, with fiscal pressures easing as the country continues to implement reforms under its IMF-supported program. According to the fund, improved revenue mobilization, tighter public spending, and progress on debt restructuring have contributed to a more stable fiscal environment. The IMF says these measures are helping to restore investor confidence, reduce financing pressures, and create conditions for sustained economic growth. However, the fund cautioned that Ghana must remain committed to fiscal discipline and continue implementing structural reforms to safeguard recent gains and build resilience against future economic shocks. The latest assessment comes as government seeks to strengthen economic recovery, lower inflation, and improve living conditions while maintaining stability in the public finances. Still in business, Ghana's cashew processing industry is facing mounting pressure, with industry players warning that raising production costs, limited access to raw materials, and financing challenges are pushing many processors to the brink of collapse. Ghana's cashew processing industry is under severe strain, with stakeholders warning that many factories are struggling to remain operational. Industry leaders say soaring production costs, inadequate access to affordable financing, and inconsistent supply of raw cashew nuts have significantly reduced processing capacity across the country. They urge that the continued export of raw cashew nuts instead of local value addition is depriving processors of essential raw materials, threatening jobs, and limiting Ghana's earnings from the sector. Stakeholders are calling on government to introduce targeted policies and incentives to support local processors, improve access to credit, and encourage greater domestic processing before exports. The cashew industry remains an important contributor to Ghana's agricultural economy, with renewed calls for urgent intervention to safeguard investment, project jobs, and strengthen the country's value-added export sector. Let's go for a break. Up next is sports and entertainment with Wendy Lati.
MBN Jasuni Fremi Ejahima Sawuba MBN Jasua Fremi 0245 88 2128 MBN Jasso, come home, na yendi eja at the right place.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Mega News at 6 on MBN TV, and I'm Wendy Lati. Now, in the world of sports, Black Queens midfielder Jennifer Kudjo says Ghana is not feeling pressured ahead of their 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations encounter against Mali, insisting the team remains confident and focused on securing victory.
Ghana midfielder Jennifer Kudjo says the Black Queens are not under pressure ahead of their crucial 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations clash against Mali. Kudjo says the team is fully prepared for the challenge and remains confident in their ability to deliver a positive result. The midfielder acknowledged Mali's quality and competitiveness but insisted Ghana's preparations, teamwork and determination will be key to overcoming their opponents. The Black Queens are seeking to make a strong statement at the tournament as they continue their campaign with expectations high from supporters back home. Kudjo says the team is focused on taking each match as it comes and representing Ghana with pride on the continental stage.
And away from sports, we move to the entertainment desk, where Ghana has launched the High Life to the World campaign in Barcelona, Spain, as part of preparations for the Black Star Experience 2027, aimed at promoting Ghana's cultural heritage and positioning High Life music as a global sound.
Ghana has launched the High Life to the World campaign in Barcelona, making a major step in efforts to showcase the country's music, culture and creative industry on the global stage. The initiative forms part of the Black Star Experience 2027, a national cultural program designed to celebrate Ghana's heritage while attracting international attention to its creative economy. Organizers say High Life music, one of Ghana's most influential cultural exports, will serve as a key vehicle for telling Ghana's story and connecting with audiences around the world. The Barcelona launch brought together cultural stakeholders, musicians and representatives from Ghana's creative sector, highlighting opportunities for collaboration and cultural exchange. The campaign is expected to continue across international platforms as Ghana seeks to strengthen its position as a leading destination for culture, tourism and creative innovation.
That's all for today on sports and entertainment. El Samuels joins with the foreign news after the break.
Hi, welcome to Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth. Our serene environment and cozy rooms provides a pleasant stay. To book a room with us, call 055
08059400103 and 0241972076. Locate us at Teshinungwa Estate, number 8 Coconut Street, directly behind A-Life Supermarket. Shiloh Guest House, where comfort meets warmth.
Welcome back from the business desk. Also bring you sports and entertainment. It's now time to turn our attention to the foreign front, just live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate. We'll start from Ukraine. Says it has targeted 2 oil refineries deep inside Russian territory in the latest series of strikes aimed at disrupting Russia's energy infrastructure amidst the ongoing war.
Ukraine says it has carried out strikes on 2 oil refineries deep inside Russia as Kyiv continues attacks on energy facilities it says are vital to Moscow's war efforts. The reported strikes targeted key parts of Russia's oil processing infrastructure, though details on the extent of the damage have not been independently confirmed. Russian authorities have acknowledged drone attacks in some areas but have not provided full details on the impact of the incidents. Ukraine has increasingly focused on long-range strikes against Russian energy sites, arguing that weakening fuel supplies will reduce Moscow's ability to sustain military operations. The attacks come as the war enters another critical phase, with both sides continuing to target strategic infrastructure while diplomatic efforts to end the conflict remain uncertain.
Now moving away from Ukraine and Russia tensions, we go to Africa, where Uganda is mourning the death of a football captain who was allegedly beaten to death in a street gang attack, sparking outrage and renewed calls for action against rising violence.
Uganda's football community has been left in shock following the death of a national team captain who was reportedly attacked and beaten by a street gang. The incident has triggered widespread condemnation, with fans, players, and officials demanding justice and a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding the killing. Tributes have poured in for the footballer, who was remembered as a respected leader on and off the pitch and an inspiration to many young athletes. Authorities have launched investigations into the attack as public anger grows over concerns about street violence and insecurity. The death has cast a shadow over Ugandan football, with calls for stronger measures to protect citizens and ensure those responsible are brought to justice.
On that sad note, we come to the end of this evening mega news at 6 on MBN TV. But we take a second look at the stories making headlines.
President Mahama concludes Jamaica visit with Civil Heritage Park tour. In business, IMF eases fiscal pressure on Ghana's economy. And on the international front, Ukraine strikes 2 Russian oil refineries in latest deep territory attack.
Thanks for staying with us. For more news, log on to MBN 360. Make a date with the same time tomorrow. We'll be back with more news at 6. The business bulletin was brought to you. Details with Dede Google's Sports and Entertainment with Wendy Nadu Latte. My name is El Samuels. Do have a good evening.